Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the third in our grad school series. It's great to have you all with us this afternoon. My name's Louise Yewood. I'm the Executive Director of Alumni Affairs and Advancement for Victoria University. So again, welcome. To begin our time together, even though we can't be on campus, I would like to acknowledge the sacred land on which Victoria University operates and to pay respect to those who came before. Toronto is still the home to many Indigenous people, and we're grateful to have the opportunity to study, to live in the community and on this territory. We're mindful of broken covenants and the need to strive to make right with all our relations. So it's a great pleasure for me today to introduce to you Liz Parker. Before the call started, she and I were just reminiscing. We've known each other in our past lives, so it's just a real thrill for me to be able to welcome you, Liz, and to do a short introduction. Liz is the foundress of Liz PR. She's a Toronto-based branding and social media consultant for classical musicians mainly, but others as well. She's worked in media relations since 1996, and her focus now is image consulting for performing artists. So Liz focuses on how her clients come across through their image, from everything from photo shoots to what you wear on stage. She's worked in PR with the Vancouver and Toronto Symphonies, at Roy Thompson and Massey Hall, and also as a digital content manager for the new Classical 96 FM. So with that brief introduction, I will shortly turn it to Liz. Just a couple housekeeping things. If you could stay muted, I see you all are, so thank you for that. And please do feel free to put questions in the chat or raise your hand. We are going to be monitoring and making sure that we take questions. I also just want to let you know that we are recording this session as well. Okay, so with that introduction, Liz, over to you and welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for that great intro, Louise. And I also wanted to thank Mary Heinma, who I used to work at the TSO with years ago, just for approaching me to begin with. And also Helena, Alicia, and Megan for all your support and help. So thank you very much for that. I'm very interested in talking about branding because I understand a lot of you are interested in putting yourself out there, or you may be rebranding and changing careers. And over the years, I've always been interested in classical music, as that's what I studied at the university level. But I've also always been interested in fashion, style, and trends, and not the designer label type thing. I've never been one to brandish, an expensive logo. That happens not to turn my crank, but just how people put themselves out there via what they wear. That is something I've always been interested in, because we're always communicating something about ourselves, whether we mean to or not. So I put them together in terms of promoting musicians and styling them and consulting on their website. So if at any point you need to stand up and stretch, I mean, a lot of you have your cameras turned off because you're probably eating, but I don't mind watching people eat because I'm always interested in food. So do whatever you have to do to be comfortable. It's cool by me. So there are three basic things that I wanted to talk about. What is branding? How does that apply to me? That's the first thing I'll cover. And two, what I've heard over the years, especially from serious classical musicians, is that I don't need a fancy wardrobe. My work speaks for itself, which is not exactly true. So I'll be talking about that a little bit, and also just touching on websites and do I need one and what does that entail? Okay, so yeah, if at any point you got questions, put them in the comments. I'm happy to be flagged to answer them. So what is branding? And how do you define branding? Does anyone want to take a stab at that? No? Okay. Branding is something that we associate most typically with products specifically. So something that I thought I would choose as an everyday branding thing that we can all relate to, or at least most of us, is coffee. Okay, so if if you are eating, honestly, I don't mind. I wouldn't mind seeing a show of hands. Who goes to Starbucks? It's okay to admit going to Starbucks. Okay, thank you, Devonia. All right, did I get it right? Okay, how about Tim Hortons? Anybody go to Tim Hortons? Not as many people. Yes. Okay, so Devonia is open to everything. Great. And then how many of you wouldn't be caught dead in either one and go to an independent? I'm sort of seeing it half-assed. Okay, so basically, I chose coffee because everybody relates to coffee. And the marketing in Starbucks, it really emphasizes the handcrafted coffee, just the way you like it, with a perceived affordable luxury like hazelnut or pumpkin spice flavoring with oat milk or almond milk. And I do drink almond milk pumpkin spice lattes. Shut up, I do like them. But anyway, so that's sort of Starbucks' thing. Tim Hortons, on the other hand, they emphasize your everyday coffee. The marketing depicts, the huge truck pulling into the drive-through, at the crack of dawn, fresh cracked egg landing on the grill, the construction workers, students, truck drivers. So Starbucks tends to appeal to, quote, the everyday guy, Tim Hortons. Then there are the independents. Now, they don't have a budget for national or even local ad campaigns, but woke millennials always know where to go for the best coffee in the city. So whenever you want the best coffee in the city, you want to ask someone, about 35 and younger. So I'm talking Jimmy's, Pilot, Balzac's, Sam James. So we all align ourselves with a certain brand of coffee. And that's a very typical way that we do that. I also find loyalty is a big part of branding. And loyalty tends to come from your initial experience with something. So I'm old enough that I'm from Vancouver. So I was around when Starbucks opened their first international location, which was in Vancouver at the corner of Robson and Thurlow. And, this was very exciting for Vancouverites, that this big chain was coming up to Canada. And for years growing up, I chose Starbucks over Second Cup because I would rather align with an American West Coast coffee company than an Ontario-based coffee company. Because growing up in Vancouver, we're always ignored by Ottawa, right? And Seattleites, my sister-in-law is from Seattle, they feel overlooked by Washington. So I found myself aligning more with a Seattle coffee company than with Ontario. So a lot of it is the first experience that you have. And then there are the companies that don't really participate in branding at all. They're there, they exist, you know what to do. Only the pandemic has forced some companies to really up their game regarding their social media presence to promote sales, delivery, and curbside pickup and all of that. So the pandemic has really changed how branding operates. So branding is about awareness, it's about perception, and even a feeling. And we all have to take part in this, as we're promoting ourselves in our careers. Some companies go through great expense to indicate their branding. Think of a designer label that advertises in Vogue magazine versus a local designer with an awesome Instagram presence. So there's all different ways that you can do it. And how does branding apply to me? So everything that you put out there online, whether it's LinkedIn, applying for a job, your Facebook, whatever, that's all part of your branding. Whether it's conscious or subconscious, you're always putting your brand out there. And I don't know about you, but I find there are a lot of people who over curate. They're hashtag blasting, they're all this hashtag blast and everything's great and everything's happy. And I tend not to relate to those people as much as I relate to people who are humorous about their struggles, or I don't know, everyone hits us differently, right? So that's the deal with branding. Does anybody have questions about that in general? No? Okay, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about wardrobe because I do a lot of that for musicians. The kind of branding that I do is more of a soft branding. It's not like a hard sell. So for the musicians that I work with, for a photo shoot, for example, it's more than just, you know, booking a photographer, hair and makeup and showing up. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff for that. And, you know, coming from the music background, you know, it's never showing up and just playing notes. You do research on the composer and hours and hours of practicing, and you pick the right outfit before you perform. So what I do before a photo shoot with a musician is that I meet with them online, and this was way before the pandemic. I've always done that because I want to see how they are on camera, how comfortable they move on camera, and I need to see their clothing on camera to make sure it actually photographs well. At some point, all of you will be involved in a headshot for something in your career, or you'll be taking pictures at a board meeting or sponsorship event or what have you. At some point, you're all going to be photographed. So a few things that you want to know. You want to stick to solids over patterns as a general rule. So things photograph differently. So if you can turn your cameras on so I can see you. I promise I don't mind if your top is soup stained. I want a show of hands. What do you think of this blouse on camera? Thumbs up or down? Very good. Very good. Yeah, I'm not offended at all. This does not work. Thumbs up or down. I saw some more cameras come on. So yeah, you can see that it strobes, right? And it's almost seizure inducing. It's just really hard on the eyes. And anytime you watch the news and you see the reporter out on the street and they do a streeter, that's where the reporter goes, well, what do you think about, you know, the way Ford is handling, you know, the pandemic, right? And you will notice that the reporter always looks quite polished and pulled together. The streeter may not, because obviously they weren't planning to be on camera. And they look a little disheveled or what have you. Look at the stark contrast between the two. So yeah, this is a disaster on camera. It's quite cute when it's on in person, okay? So there's that. How about something like this? Thumbs up or down, okay? We're getting the thumbs down, some thumbs up. Okay, wow, tough crowd. Yeah, this may not be the best thing, but it does, for a pattern, it does photograph fairly well because it's a bigger graphic kind of a print. So this one photographs quite well. How about this? Yes, lots of thumbs up. Okay. Yeah. So rich, concentrated, saturated color. And it's a confident color. Red symbolizes color or passion, strength of character. So obviously this is the winner. So you want to stick to solids wherever possible. Okay. I didn't leave out the men. It depends on what the career is. I mean, if you are like in finance and you're going after, you know, some very important position, you want to look serious, obviously. But it's always good to have like a pocket square, something that's bright and colorful and it keeps the eye moving. Because I find a lot of musicians have shown up to photo shoots, generally men, and they're wearing their suit, which looks fine, but it still gives that CEO look. And there's nothing wrong with that, except I'm photographing them to promote them as an artist and as a creative. So I usually include a pocket square. And also, I'm very picky about ties. A lot of men don't have good taste in ties. And they look like something your dad picked out, you know? So usually, again, a solid with a bit of a sheen looks more modern. And, you know, I'm wearing a black top, so you can see how it looks, you know, just for like a black dress shirt or what have you. And it just tends to photograph better than any busy kind of a print. The other thing that I really love, and, you know, women can wear all of this stuff too. I mean, a lot of this stuff can go back and forth, is the men's flower pin. And I saw these in a kiosk, actually really near Roy Thompson Hall, and I bought one of every color, knowing I would use them for photo shoots. And it just adds a little bit of flair. I got black, purple, and teal. So again, against a suit, it looks really, really nice. So this is one way to show that you have personality or that you're creative, just a little flair. You can't go wrong with that. So what I do is I do a very quick Q&A with my clients to get an idea of who they are and who they think they are, and how they should convey that in their photos. So I would like to know if there's anybody out there hiding behind their muted cameras, if there's anybody out there who thinks they will be up for a photo shoot at some point for their careers, who is interested in taking part in the process that I commonly do with my clients. Helena, you might have to pick someone, or Louise, you might have to pick someone.
Oh, look, Natalia says she is up for it.
Okay.
Yay.
Okay, Natalia, thank you. If you could turn your mic on. Your mic isn't working.
She says her mic isn't working.
Okay. Is your chat working? Yeah, you can chat with somebody? Okay. So if somebody could, I don't know if it would be Helena who would chat with Natalia, but Natalia, what career are you in or looking to get into?
Okay, go ahead and type and I can just read it out.
She says mediation.
She's currently a peace studies student.
Peace studies? Okay. Is that related to diplomatic relations?
Yes.
It is, okay. Okay, so Natalia, don't overthink this. I want to know 5 words that you would use to describe yourself as a person. Don't overthink it, go, start typing.
Curious, empathetic, resilient, adaptive, dedicated.
Resilient, adaptive,
Mm-hmm.
and dedicated?
Correct.
Okay, very good. Now, 5 words to describe yourself as a peacekeeper or diplomat. Don't overthink it, go. They can overlap as well.
Good listener, curious, insightful, adaptive.
Oh, okay.
Perceptive.
Thank you. Okay, so let's see. So curious overlaps, that's good. So, just to recap, as a person, curious, empathetic, resilient, adaptive, and dedicated. As a diplomat or peacekeeper, good listener, curious, insightful, adaptive, and perceptive. So I see the curious overlaps, the adaptive overlaps. So I'm already thinking the outfit for your photo shoot would involve structure, like it could be a blazer or something to indicate that you've got your act together, because that's important if you're trying to prevent 2 countries from blowing up. But I want you to look approachable and open to hearing other ideas. So I wouldn't put you in a super formal outfit. I would put you in the blazer with maybe a casual but beautifully tailored pant, with a button-up shirt, but it's unbuttoned at the top, maybe soft jewelry. And the colors, your eyes, I think they're dark.
Green with light.
Green with light. Okay. Okay, that's great because I was actually thinking of olive greens, maybe tan, khakis, autumn colors, because that would complement your hair and eye color and skin tone. But also subconsciously, those are the colors of the earth. And I would like to sort of pull nature colors into what you're wearing. Does that sound, am I on the right track at all in terms of how I would style you for a shoot?
Yes, would just go a bit more aqua
Okay, I can do aqua.
to work because she works on water policy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we could definitely pull in aqua coloring for sure. But that's sort of what I'm going with. Like, I wouldn't put you in like stilettos or something. You might even be in Blundstones. But overall, yeah, Blundstones are pretty trendy and they can be very fashionable. But what my point being is approachable clothing that's still tailored and polished to indicate that you're working with nature as well as having to throw very important meetings. So that's kind of how I would style you, not too corporate and not to save the earth, somewhere in between to combine the two, okay? So that's what I would do there. So thank you for agreeing to do that. I appreciate that. So everything you put out there to be interpreted by the public, that's part of branding. Your website, your social media, your LinkedIn. And social media is obviously the most quick and efficient way to get your branding out there. We tend to, I don't know, I see some people who use their social strictly professionally, other people strictly personally, and others somewhere in between. I'm sort of the in-betweener because I often comment on things related to my work, as well as some personal things. Like I complain a lot about what my personal trainer makes me do. I do a lot of cooking and I'm constantly posting Asian food dishes that I make. So everyone has their own approach. My Facebook and Instagram, I tend to put content that reflects what I do. So sometimes I put pictures behind the scenes of styling musicians, obviously not as much lately in the past year, and my work also as a piano teacher. And in the before times, I often recorded duets. You know, I've got the phone facing us, we're sitting at the piano, and I'm usually giving them, you know, the evil side eye because they're messing up and stuff like that. I can't do that right now, obviously. So now I've taken to posting videos of myself sort of lecturing a kid and going right up to the camera, like, what do you mean it's not memorized? You know, so a lot of that kind of stuff. So that's how I use Facebook and Instagram. Twitter, I tend to complain about the government and stuff. I sort of leave it to Twitter to sort of complain about like how the vaccine rollout is going and all that kind of thing. So we all use it for different reasons. You can also put tips and make yourself a resource. Tips about how you do this or how you do that. Everybody loves to see any hacks that you've got that relate to your career. So position yourself as a resource because I find that to be very helpful. So in my case, I will sometimes post about how to wear a certain thing, how to make more use out of a basic item, or because I love cooking so much, I often post about things that I made and how to do it, that kind of thing. Okay, what I tend to avoid on social is anything to do that's very personal. I tend not to go there. Angst, I prefer not to do that. Do any of you know someone who kind of shares too much and it gets a bit too MIE and you're a little uncomfortable with the stuff that they're posting? Yeah. So I try not to be that guy. And I tend to avoid politics or controversy. I mean, once in a while I will wade in there if I'm particularly, you know, pissed off about something, but generally I don't. I tend to want to keep it work and interest related. So
Liz,
this one, yes.
Sorry, just when you're done your process here, a question in the chat, Louise was just asking what you think about LinkedIn.
I mean, I don't use it a lot because LinkedIn started out in a very corporate way. LinkedIn feels like a very awkward Facebook wannabe. And LinkedIn kind of feels like the awkward older sibling trying to look as fashionable and hip as the youngest born. You know what I mean? But I do think it's a valuable resource for networking, letting people know where you are and what you're doing. That's where you want a professional photo used if you can manage that. I see it as a more formal type of social media that's very career-based. But now LinkedIn is getting into liking and all of that. But it's still valuable. I mean, I've used LinkedIn just to see who's hiring, what's out there, you know. So I think it's good to have a presence on there for sure. So I also have a resource too about branding versus image. And I can share that information, Helena, with you later if you want to forward it to people. But there's brand identity and brand image. And I found it very interesting to read this contrast. There's 11 of them. Brand identity develops from the source or the company. The image is what's perceived by the consumer. Brand message is tied together in terms of brand identity. The brand message is untied by the consumer in the form of the image. So you can see one is from the source, the other is the consumer's point of view. The brand is substance-oriented or strategic, whereas its nature that it's appearance-oriented or tactical. So I just find this list very interesting, and I can share it with you later. Brand identity represents your desire, and the brand image represents other people's view of what you have. And identity is active. The image is passive. And the identity is where you want to be. And the image is what you've got. And it's a promise. The brand is a promise that a company makes to consumers. The image is the consumer's perception about that brand. So this all kind of has this ring of superficialness to it. I understand that, or shallow even, but we're all suckered in at some point about something that we really like to wear or eat or drive in or whatever. We're all part of this cycle. So, you know, when you brand yourself, you know, lean professional more than personal. And the thing about LinkedIn is that I find a lot of people write the most complicated, undecipherable descriptions about what they do. This seems to be this bizarre trend to look as incomprehensible as possible. So here's an example that I lifted that I saw on LinkedIn. A senior arts and entertainment professional with progressive and comprehensive management expertise in successfully driving revenue, building audiences, and creating exceptional customer experiences. A champion of building brand value and relationships of distinction through authentic cross-channel engagement with customers and partners. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Why do people write this stuff? If I have to think really, really hard about what it is you do, it's too hard for me to think about. So I rewrote it and put an experienced arts and entertainment marketing manager with a history of planning successful ad campaigns, skilled at building audiences and entertaining concert experiences, great at building relationships with arts presenters and building on those partnerships. So I find that a little more digestible. So don't get all fancy-pantsy, you know, super pretentious with what it is you do, because I just find it irritating. Mind you, I'm not the CEO of some big company looking to hire, so I don't know. But I just like language that I can comprehend, basically. And then finally, websites. Touching on websites. How many of you have one? Okay. How many of you are thinking about it? Okay, and how many of you are just freaked out? Oh my God, me, a website? Don't be silly. Because I went through that. Okay. I would say yes, you need a website. And people start to think it has to be this big, complicated thing. It really doesn't. It could be a one-pager. It could be just a landing page and that's it. It's just to have a presence on there. You want to be Googleable. So if someone types in your name, boom, it goes to your website. You have more freedom with a website than on LinkedIn. So you need a great photo, a brief and informative bio or blurb, one that I can comprehend, and a summary of your skill set. The other thing to keep in mind that a lot of people who are in a hiring position have middle-aged eyes. And if the font is like the tiniest font, or if it's pale gray on white, that drives me crazy. People like me can't read that. And I've been advising this long before my eyes changed, but you want to make sure it's legible both on the tablet, laptop, and on your handheld device, okay? Because lots of times I've looked at a website on my computer, it looks great. Then I open it up on my phone and there's all this clutter and images and text fighting for, being viewable. So you wanna watch that, okay? And if you do have any kind of a bio or blurb, make sure that the year and the month are at the bottom of it. That gives other people a rough idea of how current it is, okay? So that's really, really important. I think that's basically it. I know it's been a hard time for everyone this past year, and hang in there. The way I've been getting through it is to cook and eat and exercise and trying to enjoy what I can about this time. Like the streets are quieter. I hear more birds singing. And I think a lot of us are reassessing and reevaluating what's important, since so much has been taken away from us in the past year. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, and I'm very grateful that you are here today. And thank you. It's been a real pleasure.
Do we have any other questions for Liz? If you have a minute or two, Liz, it would be great. I have a question myself, but I wonder if others have something. Lindsay has her hand up.
Thank you very much. It's been very interesting. Just a quick question when looking at Zoom screens, something that just popped up right here is we can work with ourselves and how we present ourselves individually, but when we're at home, I notice behind you, you've got that room divider or screen. How would you recommend best presenting ourselves in this type of format?
That's a great question, because you would feel odd in a completely tailored suit. Obviously, that would seem weird, but you don't want to be in your sweats either. So it's sort of a combination of things. So I do have a room divider because I'm a super cluttered person, and here I am talking about branding and all that sort of thing. So I better look the part. Over here is my pandemic collection of groceries. Okay. So when I go to the grocery store, I make it count and buy lots and lots of stuff. Over here is my very untidy kitchen. Keeping it real, but you don't need to see that while I'm talking. So I did buy this panel just to clear, and I also have a mirror actually behind this. So the mirror reflects all my crap over there. So it's just a way to minimize. So I think as long as you're comfortable and polished, I think that's a good way to walk the fine line when you're working from home. And I'm wearing, black jeans, but they're still black, in case I get up and go somewhere, I don't want you to see gray sweatpants on the bottom. So
I guess what you're saying with like the patterns or your background, limit the distractions so people are looking at you and not the other stuff that they might be looking at, the moving pattern or what might be behind you.
Yes, because you're competing with that horn skull man creature behind you, right? And I am intrigued by that. Now I want to know who the artist is and all of that. So I would definitely put a panel up or something. Like the plants is great. In fact, I was trying to figure out a way to have some kind of a ivy draping here or something. So yeah, I mean, the background is just as important as what you're wearing. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Well, I was actually truthfully going to ask that exact same question.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll also add to it by saying, Liz, you were talking to us before we got started about lighting. And I think lighting on a Zoom call, because we've all, seen people on Zoom and it's very dark and you can't really see their face, and then other people are overlit. Can you talk a little bit about what would be best as far as that goes?
Yeah, absolutely. Lighting is everything. You know, all Hollywood, you know, actors and actresses, they get to know the lighting director very well. So, for example, if I turn this light off, actually, it's not too bad because I got
Looks like Liz is frozen for a moment here.
not proper lighting. I really have this is actually, it's just a clamp-on lamp like this. And I put these hooks here so I can have my charger here. And I just clamp it to the counter here, and I can move it around. And it's also got different settings. So here's a very bright, kind of a harsh light. This is a bluer, kind of a nightclub kind of a light. Don't want that either. I always go for the warm lighting. And the other thing that's great about this is you can dim it quite a bit, or you can turn it up. So this was like a $40 find on Amazon. And I do have the actual circle light and everything, which I keep by my piano for when I teach lessons. But lighting is everything. You don't want a window behind you, because then you're this black silhouette, and then you look like a, you know, witness protection program, right? Where we can't really see you at all. So definitely have the light towards you. And after a while, you will learn to phase out that bright light that's on you. You actually get used to it. Lighting is everything. And I was even actually fiddling with some of the filters on Zoom. And there's one like face correction setting or something. They might as well just call it the Botox you know, diffuser, because when I tried it, I looked 20, but I'm not entirely comfortable with that either. You know, I mean, I'm 51 and I'm okay with that. So I'm okay with looking my age. I just want to be lit. I want to be lit.
Liz, there's a question in the chat, and that is, what is the frequency we should keep in mind for posting on Instagram or professional social media accounts?
It kind of depends on the nature of the industry. What is the industry?
Mediation.
Okay, so that sounds serious. For mediation, I think maybe 2 or 3 times a week. I guess mediation, when I think about it, because I don't know a whole lot about mediation. So if somebody was posting about it, I would want to know, what does that mean? What does that entail? Does that mean we're trying to settle out of court before it gets to court? So I have questions about what mediation means. That is what it means, right? Trying to settle everything in a boardroom before going in front of a judge?
It's the volunteer who was working in water relations,
Preserve the relationship. I would just want, in my case, I would just want to know what it means and what does it entail. So I think 2 to 3 times a week is good for that.
Sorry, there's a little more information. So it could be tenant mediation, family mediation, common pool resources.
Oh, tenant. Well, that was a big one during the pandemic, right? Not turning people out during, you know, this crazy time. So posting, what are your rights? I would want to know that. Especially, you know, if I was a tenant and dealing with a landlord who was making my life miserable, I'd want to know about that. Or if I'm a landlord and I have a tenant who's making things miserable, I'd want to know, how do I deal with that legally and responsibly? So I think, I think explaining what it is and how you can help and how you can serve the public, that's a good thing to post about. Any other questions?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So I'm a filmmaker. I specialize in documentary and nature film, but I'm wondering, in terms of my branding, how do I walk the line between being too specific and broad? Because, for example, if I brand myself solely as a nature filmmaker, am I cutting myself off from fiction, a commercial kind of narrative, things like that?
I think it's okay to say that you are a filmmaker with a particular interest in nature related issues, because for me, I mean, I'll style anybody who needs help with an outfit. I just specialize in classical musicians because that's what I know best. I speak that language and it's my background. But I have styled people outside of the music industry who heard about me through a musician friend or what have you. So to start, I would keep it a little more general and mention your specific interests. I think that's the best way to balance that. I really hope you make a lot of films and that it goes well. I'd love to see something someday.
Oh, thank you. I'm nominated for 3 Canadian Screen Awards.
Yay! Congratulations. Well, what's the film? Tell me more about the film.
Yeah, it's called She Walks with Apes. And it's the story of the first 3 scientists to study the great apes in the wild, which are Jane Goodall, Diane Fossey, and Birute Galdikas. So it's kind of a story of feminism, of how they were kind of put down in the field, but they changed the way that we see the natural world around us.
That's amazing, because I'm kind of obsessed with Jane Goodall. She makes me cry. She's pretty amazing. And also the way she was the first to give names to the chimps and not just a number, and that they had feelings. And I also really love, have you watched her greet a crowd?
Oh, I love it when she does the call.
Yeah, oh my God, it's the greatest thing. Well, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? So you all know how to brand yourselves. You're all experts now?
No, so what's it? Sorry, Devanya here.
I don't, yeah.
How can you, how should I say this? So like, let's say you've started, business or what have you that you're branding, right? And you've opened up your social media, but now you only have like 1 or 2 followers. How do you build that, I guess, that base? And how do you build that base? Do you just do it through social media, or, do you do it through social media and, let's say, have a blog or a newsletter or what have you, so that you can build those numbers? Like, what would you suggest? Yes, I think
all of those are good. What's the nature of what you're doing?
So I basically build websites. I help people do virtual events. So I build events basically from the ground on up to whatever the client needs.
Okay, so websites and virtual events right now.
Correct. So I build stores, websites for stores. I do virtual events. So if that virtual event needs marketing, I do your marketing, I do your social media, I do the whole shebang.
Awesome. Well, there's a lot of need for that. I think for me personally, I find engaging is the best way to build followers. So I mean that both directions. I might be posting something about, what do you think is the best outfit to wear for this occasion, and just get people to engage. But it's also the other way. I'm constantly engaging with other people and commenting and getting dialogue going. And very often when 2 people are really riffing in the comments on a mutual friend's feed or something, then you befriend each other, right? And then you start commenting back and forth. So I find just doing a lot of engaging is great. And on Twitter, it's kind of interesting. I posted something about, what did I post? It'd be really great if Lecce says the schools are safe, then vaccinate the damn teachers, and teachers, I just want you to know we love you and support you. Boom, all these likes and follows just because of that. So for me, it's more genuine and organic. Some people are really going for the numbers, so they keep asking questions, and there's nothing wrong with that too, if that's part of your brand, right? So I find engaging is the best way. Follow others, they'll follow you back. Putting questions out there, like, what would you like to see in a great website? How does your website represent you? Can you read the fonts of everybody's website? That's good information to find out. Do you find websites easy or difficult to navigate? Name examples. Like, just put engagement out there and get dialogue going. It takes a while to build, but it's worth it. Anyone else?
Well, that looks like it. We might be at the end of our session. So I just want to thank you, Liz, very much indeed. That was really interesting. We really appreciate your time today. Thank you. And to all of you, thank you so much for joining us. And be safe and be well. And I hope that you all, since we may not see you again between now and the summer, we're hoping that we're going to have a good summer. So I hope you all have a great summer. Thank you so much again. Bye,
My
everyone.
pleasure. That was fun. Thank you.